Adriano, you were our very first podcast guest,
Yes.
episode 001. Yeah,
That's great. I was.
and
Yeah, you started low and built up. It was really
now it's
great. I
all the
appreciate
way
that.
back up to you again. So it comes full circle.
Uh,
But today I want to talk
nice.
about the RSPA, formerly USPTA. I
Mhm.
can't wait to
Mhm.
stop saying that. Like formerly Twitter. I like that to go away.
Oh gosh.
The RSPA Southern Convention, which you
Yep.
were directly involved in. We have confirmed recently that the American Racket Sports Association will be there and will be handing out coffee and donuts the mornings of Friday and Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. So everybody come see us, of course. And I'm sure I'll over mention that because that's what you got to do
Sure.
on these things. But
That's great.
I want to ask you, tell us about the conference
Sure.
and tell us to all the coach types and the industry types. I want to convince everybody as to why they should be there.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're super excited about it this year. We have a great location in Greenville, South Carolina, so there's a lot to do there. We're going to be at let me just make sure, right, the Embassy Suites Resort. So we again changed. A lot of years what we've done has been at clubs, and they're great venues. But what we love about the World Conference is a lot of times it's right there on site. We can do everything. So at the Embassy, they're great. It's we got everything we need there, and including a golf course. So, one thing we were talking about before we started this, we're always excited about the Southern. Everyone we get to see, but we really found out a couple things. Location is something that's key, and we wanted to change with the times. I think education is always going to be the point of what we do for a conference, right? People go there for education, but honestly, is it just for education? Because you can go online and get educated. So for me, the biggest part for me isn't the education, which that I love the education, don't get me wrong, but it's a social aspect, it's a networking. And I said, I don't think we did a good enough job letting people know, why do we do this? Why am I going to take a day off of work to come and just see some drills and see some other things like that? I mean, it's not that. It's a lot about you and I sitting here in between sessions talking about something, say, hey, what do you do in this situation? Right. And yeah, I'm in Georgia. You might be in Tennessee. Right. And then how do you do it in your club? Well, I can bring that to my club. I can do this. Oh, hey, let's hang out. Let's go to this next one. So we're doing a lot of different things. Like you said, with the breakfast, we're doing a breakfast every day. And it's kind of like a roundtable discussion. So get up and do it. It's a lot of networking. Marcus Rucci, the new director of Racket Sports in Atlanta Athletic Club, I signed him on for our social chair. I said, so we have Alan Jensen, who's done a fantastic job getting the lineup. We have some really top-notch speakers, but I also we needed to form kind of a committee. So Marcus is heading up all of our social aspects. So on Thursday, golf with the legends. So what we're doing is, any of our Hall of Famers or past presidents. Um, I'm taking care of them going to golf. If anybody wants to golf, they get paired with them in a foursome, and you got a great opportunity for 18 holes of golf to talk to people who have the most knowledge in this country about our industry, right? So we're doing that, and then I have my board meeting, so you guys get the fun. I'll be running that. But when we're done, usually we take the board out to dinner. So I said to Pat, "Hey, let's change things up." So Thursday night, instead of the board dinner, we're having a happy hour with the Southern board. So anyone who comes in earlier, instead of us going to dinners, we'll buy you a couple drinks. We'll hang out. Maybe we'll go to dinner afterwards, and we get to interact with those people that are coming. So those are just a few of the changes that we're doing. And again, I think networking, social aspects cannot be understated when you go to a convention, because just meeting a new friend, most of my best friends now are in this organization. Right. So those are just a small little peek of what we're doing in the schedule. We've also added, we have a Racket Sports. What is it? I want to make sure it is we got it set up. A master racket technician. Jeff Brown's going to be running a certification on Saturday. That's something totally new. And then on Sunday, we're doing our pickleball certification for people who want to get involved in pickleball. So, and as you mentioned, formerly USPTA. Believe it or not, I was in the XCOM meeting and there were people that said USPTA a few times, so that had to be corrected. So RSPA, but I'm super excited about it because we are involved in these, right? Why don't we change some things, right? I'm excited. We're going to have presentations on tennis. on pickleball and padel. So it's not just for one thing. So, hey, I don't know anything about pickleball, right? Why would I do pickleball? Well, here's how you can generate lesson revenue. Here's how you can add it into a program, right? And people have asked me, well, how do you build a program? How do you have a program in that? I said, for me, it's three simple steps. You need three components to have a program. You need to have a social aspect, you need to have a competition or leagues, and you have to have lessons. If you have those three things, you have a program. You have lessons to get better, leagues to compete, and then a social aspect to get people introduced. So those are some things that I think the RSPA now is really doing an excellent job of.
I like it. Now, you've got somebody like me there because I've got a vested
Mhm.
interest
Mhm.
because of the American Racket Sports Association. How do you
Mhm.
get Bobby to show up? So that's when you go, okay, we're gonna poll our members and say, okay,
Yep.
everybody's busy. We're gonna do
Yep.
it in mid-May, which is right in the middle of, everything, and everybody's got a kid graduating from high school or college and all these things happening, right? So,
Yep.
Bobby, I'm gonna switch this up on you, Ken.
Yep.
Bobby, how does Ken get you to go to a
Great.
conference that's I know in this example, it's not this coming weekend or next, it's 2 weekends from now
Mhm.
as we record this. It's first couple of days in May. It's $150 for a member, plus you got to get a hotel room and you got
Mhm.
to drive up there. We drive because we're
Sure.
from Atlanta. It's a couple hours.
Yep.
Bobby, what gets you to something like that?
What Ken fails to realize is if he wants me to go to those things, he's got to not come to have lunch with me at Johnny's in East Cobb because I have access to Ken unfairly than more than
Uh,
most people do.
yep.
So that's probably number one is
Love
that,
it.
Ken and I have, we have these conversations.
Yep.
We just do it in a different venue. Uh, I love what he said. I think Greenville, you got me. I mean, that's of interest. I love Greenville. I mean, it's a great
Mhm.
little city. They have a Jack in the Box, and it's always Taco Tuesday at Jack in the Box. You get four of the worst tacos that taste great, so that's intriguing right
Yep.
away. So that is right, and inconvenience factor, absolutely. And I think
Yep.
the energy level too. Obviously, I know Ken, I'm a big fan, and I know that what the energy he's going to put into it to make sure it's successful is also something that's going to get me to listen longer than most
Yeah.
times. And the fact he's doing it early
Appreciate
May
them.
and not affecting my Disney trip, which Ken also can relate to, he was smart scheduling too, because another
Yeah.
week I'd be gone. So
Yep.
there's a chance I can get to this one.
It's all about you, Bobby. So, and I'm a big fan of Disney as well.
That's
I
what I'm
took my
saying. I
adult
know.
kids. I took my adult
Yeah.
kids last year, so we're into that. But
Yeah, we've
no,
had
I
all these
appreciate that.
conversations.
Yep.
Trying to
Well,
figure
our
out,
next Johnny's is canceled if you don't go.
oh
So,
no,
There you go.
just
All right.
gave him the way to do it. So Ken, I
uh,
bring up Bobby specifically because there's just so many different
sure,
industry types, right? The
absolutely.
country club types. Marcus is probably got he's got it paid for because his club can
Hmm.
pay for
Sure.
it. If we use him as an example, plenty of people work for clubs
Hmm.
and they might actually have a budget for these things and send
Hmm.
some of their coaches. The national one is tough because okay,
Yeah.
we tried to budget for that. We're going to Hawaii. Well, you know
Yeah.
what? That's a bigger ticket item. I think it sounds fantastic, but
Sure.
not everybody can afford it. So
Mm-hmm.
what's the draw as well? I love the fact that we've got racket technician certification. I can learn more about that. Love
Hmm.
pickleball. I think we got quite a few people in Atlanta that have already done the pickleball if they
Yep.
were already going to do it.
Hmm.
And Padel doesn't have quite the draw here yet because we just don't have enough courts really to say everybody needs to go get Padel certified in
Correct.
our area. So how do we hit all the different types of people, all the different types of industry coaches and directors to be able to get everybody there?
That's a great question. For the years I've been part of the board, I think one of my biggest focuses has been, there are so many different pathways you can go in the RSPA, right? Formerly USPTA, right? It doesn't matter. And here, and Bobby will tell you, right? You have an independent pro, right? And they can make a living here because everyone wants to know tennis. You can have a country club pro, right? You can have someone's at a public facility, or a corporate. And then you have management companies, right? Who do bids. right, and work there and can do things like that. There there are people that are here and we're working on all of that, right? I've been very careful not to go, okay, we're going to focus on the country club pro, but that's not all. That's the path I chose. And it took me a little bit to go because I went from academy route to that, but my skill sets fit best there. So what I like to do when I'm doing a conference is really try to find out, what is your pathway? What's your skill set? So if anyone asks me, hey, where should I go? What should I do? Because here's the thing, people who want to be an academy pro are going to struggle in a country club setting. People who are in a country club setting are going to struggle maybe being an independent contractor or run a management company, right? There's certain things that you get to do. And so you have to figure out, what does your skill set fit, right? I always say to my tennis players, I go, your skill set and your mindset need to match in order for you to to reach your full potential, right? If your skill set is a serve and volleyer, but yet your mindset is a counterpuncher, you're not going to succeed. So if my skill set is an academy pro and that's what I want to work on, but yet my mindset says I want to be in a country club pro, I will not succeed in that. And I think we can help with that. We have enough people on our board. We have enough people around. So if I don't know the person, I know someone who does, and we can help you succeed and reach your potential.
And that sounds more like networking and
Hmm.
maybe some career advice, which I think is good because when I
Yeah.
was a young pro, and I will probably see Daryl Lewis at this thing to have him
Yes, you
confirm
will.
all of the stories. When I was a young pro, I didn't get it. I didn't understand.
Hmm.
Now, maybe
Hmm.
I was like many. I know a couple right now. They're like, yeah, I'm teaching tennis right now, but I don't think I'm going to stay long. I don't think it was, this is going to be my career. I think that happens more than we want to admit. I certainly was planning on getting out. So I was like, well, why am I going to go have somebody else
Hmm.
tell me where I should, what I should do with my career? And
Sure.
that's one of the reasons I'm excited to have the American Racket Sports Association
Yeah.
involved, is because that is what we do. That is the
Yeah.
networking side that says, okay, let's figure out who here knows about skill sets combined with mindset. I like how you
Yeah.
put those two things together because Bobby talks a lot. His phrase is, a head pro does not a good director make. Like it
Yeah.
may not be, that's probably a terrible way to say it, Bobby. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Bobby uses more articles and pronouns than that, but just
He's a
because
color
we
guy.
put it one, right? When you
Yeah.
hire your best sales guy to manager, all of a sudden it may not work. So
Okay.
in this case, I'm trying to get to the point where we can convince the younger coaches and the independents. I think those might be the ones that are new.
Yeah.
Say, how do we get the guys in our orbit, in the GoTennis orbit? Let's take the
Hmm.
association out of it. In the GoTennis orbit that says, you guys are independent, you're on your own, you're looking for support, you're not necessarily climbing any corporate ladder, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't get some career advice and some education.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. I just hired a young pro. He's 28 years old, Luke Blackman. I'm super excited to have him here. He was doing some independent work. He has a lot of entrepreneurial side where he's really go-getter and doing things. Now he's learning how to fit into a team. So there's three of us that teach, and the great thing about him is he's open. I want to know, what do I need to do? Oh yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying there. I see what you're saying here, and I think a lot with the younger generations is, what am I getting now? What can I have right this second? And not thinking as much in the long term. Now, again, that's a generalization. That is not for everybody. I know some other pros that are really wanting to build their pathway. But I think we got to figure out, can you make this a profession? Because I'm a tennis professional. I'm not just a coach. There's a big difference to me, right? I take pride in that. I've done a lot of education. I learn, right? And the one thing I learn is I don't know it all. I got to learn from other people. I can always learn more from anyone. I can learn from the pro I just hired, and I already have, right? And if I'm not open to say that, if I'm not open to learn that, then I'm never going to reach anything, right? So I think the other thing, we talked about it. We had our annual meeting with the USTA Southern board, and Brian Dillman was able to come as well. And we were kind of talking about that. Well, what are you doing for numbers? What are you doing this? I said, you know what? We need to get into colleges, and not only college, we need to get into high schools. We need to let high schoolers know, hey, you know what? You can have fun. You could be outside and you can make a living. You can make money. But I think a lot of people, like you said, get out of college and go, hey, I can wear shorts to work. Don't get me wrong. Love that. Love that I can wear shorts to work. But yeah, I can make a quick buck. But this is just something to tide me over until I find a real job.
Mm.
Right. And, my thing is, this is a real job. If you make it a career, you can make it a career, but you have to find your pathway. Like we said, mindset, skill set. You can be very successful. I had a conversation on a men's night pickleball, and I had a member who brought a friend of his who just happens to be someone who does, part time with Yola, does a few things, maybe a little bit of sales, coaches just a little bit, dabbles in that, and then has a real job. And my member just kind of joked, he goes, "Yeah, like most of you." And I said, "Please don't tell my wife that when I'm here 55 hours a week, six
Right.
days a week." I said, he goes, "Oh, because most people in our profession, and I know Bobby will say the same thing, is there's two responses. What else do you do?
Yeah.
Or do you ever see your family?"
Yeah.
There's really not an in between. It's hard to find that work life balance. And I think that is something over the last 5 years. And Bobby, correct me if I'm wrong, that's changing. I worked 6 days a week my whole life, and I still do. My pros do not. I don't want
Right.
them to have to work 6. I want to give them 2 days off in a row,
Yeah.
right? And say, hey, if you want to come in and make a little extra money to do that, do it. But there's got to be a work life balance. I've missed a lot of things in my life with my children. Part of that was because I had to work and I had to pay my bills. Other parts, that's what I thought I had to do. So we need to do a better job. I think our regime of changing a little bit the way we're thinking, but also bringing the new wave up and saying it's okay to do this.
And I agree. I mean, I think that to me, that one of the big differences from when we started, and
Hmm.
even though we're older than Shaun, I know when Shaun
Yeah.
started because we were in the same, certification class, is that you weren't supposed to run in to get certified. It was spend 5 years,
Yep.
be an independent, go work for somebody, decide whether or not you saw yourself as this being a career,
Hmm.
explore more options, see the whole picture, see where you
Sure.
fit. Again, and I think that's huge. And then you would go on today. And I will say this: I come from a different background. I say this about
Sure.
tennis, where my trepidation is across the board. I was a poor kid, so I never felt like I was overly welcomed.
Hmm.
Playing tennis, I was poor. I didn't look like everybody else. I didn't have Adidas. I get excited about the three stripes because as a kid I couldn't afford the three stripes. I played other sports.
Yep.
So I came from, and I was athletic. So I'd look at tennis players and say, Jesus, any other sport, I'd beat these guys. My hands tied and
Hmm.
they're kicking my butt because I just don't have the reps. So I come from it as an outsider position,
Hmm.
never feeling like tennis was it. Absolutely love the game. I think
Me
it's an
too.
amazing game that can be sold because it encompasses. And then you get into these organizations, as you said, when you're getting into it and you don't know where you're fit to begin with, those conferences are intimidating because you're
Yeah.
getting the elite of the elite. Where I think what you just said should be standard viewing
Hmm.
for new people who come in. I said Tom Douglas a couple of years ago did an amazing presentation at a GPTA, just a meeting. It was at Fieldstone. I'll never forget it.
Yep.
And I walked up to Tom after. I said, Tom, I know you're involved. Why don't you go to the USPTA and say this has to be part, whatever we do at
Hmm.
the when we welcome new members, they have to sit here and listen to this
Yeah.
45-minute presentation you just made to get a feel for, like you said, this is not something that you're always looking for a door. I mean, my mentor, who I love to death, was always the same way. He was like, if you don't get out by 35, you're not getting out. So what? There was a time clock, and Big Greg, Kasha,
Yeah.
he was,
Yeah.
he had Greg convinced, and Greg
Yep.
got out for 15 years. He's back now, and we
Yep.
laugh. But at 35, he was absolutely convinced I got to get out of tennis because if I don't, nobody's going to take me seriously. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're trying to do here. And as we're listening, I
Yeah.
think, Shaun, that's something that we really can do as far as our organization is really push to get the people to go. Because, like I said, I felt like an outsider. One of the best things I did, I went to a Southern Conference years ago that was held in Atlanta. For whatever reason, I sat next to Howard Herr. Now, Howard Herr was one of the best players in Atlanta,
Yep.
South African. Here I am thinking, okay, I'm going to have nothing in common with him, but and I made some wise ass comment that Howard, under my breath, that Howard Herr heard and started laughing. And he just became my best friend. He was like, I
Yep.
like this wise ass. Who is this guy? And I felt like, through an impromptu meeting, you know, here I am, I had a contact that I would have never had because I would have
Hmm.
never approached him otherwise. So how do we make it where it doesn't feel so formal that I
Hmm.
can get access to Ken and go to Johnny's as well?
Yeah,
Ken, if I can take that one, because I think
please.
that one of the things I'm trying to do now, and when I send messages to people, sometimes I use the phrase skipping the line. Now,
Hmm.
we're all of an age that we've been networking for 20, 30 years. And maybe we can just go ahead and make that phone call and say, oh, I know the guy we need to talk to, right? But the young guys in the organization don't necessarily have that.
Yep.
So this is a way you can potentially skip the line, because if
Love it.
you're the young person in the industry and you start going to these things, if it costs you $150, or you can get your boss to pay for it, even better, but
Hmm.
you can go and start meeting these people that are really well connected. One, it's
Yeah.
going to mean a lot for your next job, but also, even from the independent types, it's networking of somebody else to help you when you want to go big on an event. But you get to
Yeah.
skip the line a little bit rather than doing what I did, which is wait
Yep.
20 years and then start going to these things.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, two of my best friends are I met through this. One person, I was going to if you remember this, when the World Conference in Diplomat Hotel in Hollywood, Florida, was when Liquid Metal was popping out with the Head, because Head was our main sponsor, and Liquid Metal Man was there. And one of my best friends from high school, Chris Stevens, who's in Maine, he teaches in New Hampshire there. Um, he had the rental car. We're all going. He goes, I'm going to be late. I can't make it. You're going to have to meet with Frank. I'm like, well, who's Frank? Frank Morrison, right? And I'm like, okay, who's Frank? He goes, well, you meet him at the airport. You'll see him. He's got a Dunlop bag, a little pronounced chin. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna. I'm at an airport in Florida. I'm never gonna find this guy. I walked around. I picked him out of like 50 people. I walked up. I go, Frank. He's like, Ken. I'm like, yeah. We had to wait for about an hour and a half before Chris got there. When Chris got there, finally, Frank and I felt like we had known each other for 15 years, right? Literally, I was supposed to room with Chris. I ended up rooming with Frank because because Chris had someone else that was coming in, and we've been friends ever since. And Frank was supposed to go to a conference, couldn't make it, and his buddy Tom went. Well, Tom Parks is the past Southern president, and again, one of my dearest friends. The thing about this is we're all heading in a similar direction, not the same exact club or independent pro or a management company, but we all have a similar view. We all love the game of tennis, right? Now, whether you love the game of pickleball, whether you love the game of padel, whether it's the best thing for you, I don't judge that. I said it's just part of what our society is now. But it's you. Who do you tend to have as good friends? People who you have mutual interest in. And what better place to find your best friends than here? Like I said, I'm going to date myself, right? I love through this. I have a great Rolodex. Has anyone heard that one in a while?
No.
I can literally pick up my phone, and if I need something, I can scroll down to figure out who I need to call. I know I can call Bobby. I know I can give you a call. Say I'm struggling with something. Would you help me? And I know you'd help me in a heartbeat. It wouldn't be a
And
question. You
it's
could
true.
call me, and I would do the same thing. It's just you. The more of those people you have, the better off you're going to be in life in general.
That's
And so much of that is lucky, but so much of it
Yeah.
is just who you are too, Ken. And I mean, and I think there's a degree of, especially when you're young and coming up, don't fight it.
Yeah.
Be humble. Take like you said, I was very
Yeah.
lucky to meet Howard. I was very lucky to meet Dennis Horde, who was just brought down here by two Davis Cup captains. I was very lucky to meet John Hanna and have
Johnny
common.
boy.
So you sit there and go. So through all this, very lucky to go to graduate school with Billy Pate, who introduces me
Really great.
to the Atlanta Thunder, who just happens to
Wow.
have Jeff Benton sitting there working at Windy Hill Athletic Club because he doesn't want to follow in his dad's coattails until the next year when he decides to follow through. But now I know Jeff, so now I'm involved with the senior tour. So I
Mm.
extraordinarily lucky in
Yes.
so many ways to have the Southeastern Cadillac rep as a member of Windermere. So we go, we sponsor tournaments. Unbelievably lucky. So and I'll never give. So that's why I feel the need to give back somewhat. But
Yeah.
so much of it is just the ability to sit down and have an iced tea with us, have
Yes.
a piece of pizza with us, and see us, like you said, without the same hat on. Yeah, we have a
Hmm.
country club hat, but we also have a hat that we're going to see, and it's fun to talk about the business side of it when
Hmm.
we're alone, because we have shared experiences. A lot of things don't need to be said,
Amen.
we did a pickleball event at Windermere this past weekend, and there was a young pickleball pro,
Hmm.
and the kid was just infectious. And I'm like, wow, this kid is
Love it.
going to. Now he's a puppy, so you're going to go through some. He's going to wet the carpet a couple times,
Yeah.
but in your heart of hearts, you sit there and look at this kid and say, "There's not a mean bone in this body." So
Hmm.
if he screws up, it's not malicious. It's too excitement. But
Sure.
that's you got to get excited about that, because we
I'll
had
take
that
it.
passion. We had
Yeah.
that passion,
I want
and
that energy.
you want the energy, and I want it around me. Hey, I'm getting older. If that kid can bring me some energy, I'm all about it. And that's why, again, going back to the events, making it more friendly, user friendly, in an
Hmm.
environment that you don't feel like, oh, I'm Norman Nobody. Thank you,
Hmm.
Patricia Jensen, for that line. And why am I here? Hey, you don't have to be somebody. Just listen,
Yeah.
and get something. And if something strikes a nerve with you and you have something to say it,
Hmm.
because if it hit home, you'll probably say it well.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid. So, I think the Greenville, great location, great,
Yeah.
obviously leadership, and creating that environment is so important. And
Oh, yeah.
good time of year. Good time of year to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we normally do have it a few weeks later, but um, that was the one thing. We really love the location. We did scout it out a few times, and Marcus was big on that, did a lot of legwork, and then Pat drove out there to check it out. But it's like the reason we didn't have it on that week was really just because we couldn't have certain venues. So we were going to
Yeah.
have to look at some other areas, and we were looking at another club that was local, but we just couldn't use a lot of the amenities. And it's like, well, we're going to go here and there, and I'm like, this is a one-stop shop. I mean, literally, there's if you're flying in, there's shuttle service to the Embassy Suites. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if people know that. It's walking distance to downtown. Right? It's not a short, it's a nice little walk, but not that much. There's also shuttle service there. We're gonna do that, from the happy hour. Like if we go downtown, we're gonna take care of that. Um, so I think there's just a lot of different things that we're trying to do, but the mentorship I think is good. And Shaun, great point. Skip the line, right? I want our younger pros to be able to skip the line and some of the things. I tell people all the time, I know what I know because I messed up a lot and I learned from it. I didn't know what I want. I don't know what I know because I'm perfect. I had a lot of people that I was willing to learn from that were willing to teach me, and I was willing to fail forward. And I think that's a hard thing. You got to be. I spent some part of my career not getting much done because I was so scared to fail. And I had one of my bosses, I'll never forget it. He goes, you're so worried about doing something wrong that you're not doing anything. I'd rather you do something and fail and get something done and we could fix it than just being worried about making it perfect. Some of the best advice I ever got.
Yeah.
Take some chances. I like it. Bobby,
Yeah.
you got anything else for Ken?
No, I'll see him next Thursday.
Yeah. All right, brother. You will. I hope to see you. I hope to see
Bobby's
you.
skipping the line. He's not even getting in line. He's just
Nope.
skipping the whole thing.
No, he's driving the dang bus. That's what Bobby's doing. It's like, whoa, whoa.
Exactly.
That's
I'm a
awesome.
big Hamilton fan. I just want to be in the room where it happened. I don't have to be George Washington. I just want to be in the room where it happened. That's it.
We're going to try to make
Amen,
that happen
brother.
for you, Bobby.
I love it.
Ken, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And we will get this out as quickly as possible. And I will, at least, my wife and I and our son will
Nice.
see you in South Carolina in a couple of weeks. And I'll try to talk Bobby into it. But like you said,
Well,
he got everything he needs.
we got happy hour, so you get a couple drinks each day. I know you can get your Coca-Colas there,
I was
Bobby,
going
or
to
your
say,
iced
I get my
teas.
that
Coke.
doesn't help
You
us.
can get your, yeah. But here's the thing: that's what I love about this place is it has a few little different things that we can do that are helping people get together and want to be together. So that was what I was so excited about this venue. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a blast. So come on
And
out and join us.
look, you got a baseball stadium there too.
Right?
You
What?
can't
Yeah.
beat it. There's a baseball now. It's the Boston Red Sox. It's a minor league.
Uh,
It looks like Fenway Park, but it is this unbelievably cool
oh,
minor
nice.
league baseball stadium. in downtown Greenville with a green monster in left field.
Okay.
Wow, it's pretty cool.
Greenville's an unbelievable. My in-laws
Yeah.
live in a little town about 15 minutes away called my ex-in-laws, Woodruff, South Carolina. So very familiar with it. It's a great town. It's a great little city, artistic. Like I said, baseball. You got a couple of tennis clubs right up there, and you do have Jack in the Box. So it meets all my needs.
That's important.
Yeah, Jack and Vice is so great.
You're to be in charge of the baseball event. Ken, is there a putt place nearby? Because we took Giovanni putting recently. We may do something there as well.
I don't know if there's a putt. I think there's like a Top Golf or something like that, but or like a painted pickle or something like that. We're looking at. All right. Sounds good.
I appreciate
All right, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Have a great day, Ken.
As always.
See you, brother.
Yes, thanks for everything you guys do. I really appreciate you.
We'll be in touch. Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.